Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. Now today I'm making a very simple make. It is a make for myself, but you could use it as a gift. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little stand for a tablet. Now this is so that I can put it in the kitchen, or I can have it standing up in the sewing room, and because of the way I'm making it, it does give it a bit of a shock absorber. I'm going to fill it with rice, and yes, I am a bit concerned about having food stuff in my sewing room, just because. Now, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around this tube, and then I'm going to pop this seam, and then I'm going to sew around the top there. This makes it, yeah, it will just be nice and stable and very, very easy, absolutely easy. So what I've got here is half a fat quarter. Yeah, so I could either buy an 1/8 of fabric, or I could buy a fat quarter, and if I bought an 1/8 of the fabric then I could do 2. If I bought a fat quarter then I could do 2, because that'd be fat. It's not hard. And this way I get to choose the fabric I like. Now my only concern is it's taller than my tablet, so that I can put a little shelf on the bottom and I can get it nice and stable. So I've got the machine on quite a small stitch, as small as your machine is happy with. And all I'm doing from the fold is I'm going to sew 1, 2. Now, it's not that I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to iron these seams or anything else like that. They don't need it. You know, this is as simple as it gets. We're going to sew a square. I'm going to reverse stitch there just to get it nice and strong, really. And now I can turn this inside out. And then when I sew the next seam, I'll just be sewing it along the top there. Now it's really up to you. I actually think that it's better if we turn it inside out now, and then we pull it sideways, so that this seam is now halfway there. We can check that by just folding that in half. And I'm going to sew half of it. Now you don't need to do this. All I'm doing is I'm trying to guarantee that I don't spill rice all over the place. I don't spill it in the sewing machine, I don't spill it on the floor. That's all I'm doing. So I've changed the angle and I've sewn half. And this is really completely up to you. It will make it easier to do the fold on the seam on the next bit, but other than that, I'm going to take the time now, before I fill it, just to make sure all my corners are nicely mitered. This is just a personal thing. I like sharp corners. So that's what I'm left with. I put my rice in a jug. Of course you can use a funnel or anything else that you've got, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully pour my rice into this bag. Now it's only the first bit that's difficult. When we've got some rice in there, then it should just support itself. But if you have a funnel that's suitable, then that's great. Just whatever is dry. And now that I've got some in, it can kind of stay upright. So there we are. So this is when a tray or something would be quite handy, and you could just pop it all in one go. So I know. How boring is this? This is watching rice pour. So I'm going to give it a little shake. and now that we've got enough in there that it stays upright, it's very, very easy. Put those in. There we go, maybe just a little bit more. There we are. Alright, I'm going to sweep these up. And I'm going to take this. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to push this fold down, and it should, because we're using a nice poly cotton, it should just pop quite easily. And as I can, I'm going to put a pin in there just to keep it nice whilst I get it ready to sew. So nothing complicated yet, although getting the iron out is not that complicated. So what I'm going to do now is, rather than start sewing on the actual hole, I'm going to start sewing a little way up from the seam there, so that I know that that is right. Okay, I'm keeping an eye that I'm not losing any rice, and I'm making sure that when I put it under the machine I don't knock my foot off. There we are. And a couple of stitches. So all I've done now is I've secured it under the machine. Now I've done that by sewing the previous seam, and I just made sure that there were no rice under my stitches. Not that that's a huge problem. Now that I'm happy to sew, I'm just sewing along the top there. I'm going to do a couple of reverse stitches just to keep it firmly in place, and then I can take it out of the machine. I'm going to take a second just to take these end bits off. And there we are. So all I need to do now is to take my Kindle and give it a little woof at the back, just so that I've got the angle right. There's nothing worse than having a screen that's just the wrong angle so you can't see the picture. And then if my table is shaking because I go so fast on my sewing machine, then I'm not going to have to readjust it all the time. Alright, so very simple, homemade, ideal gift, perfect. Alright, thank you ever so much for watching. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee.